That haunting, familiar sound of a coyote's howl under the moonlight. For many of us, it immediately conjures images of the wild, maybe a touch of mystery, or even, let's be honest, a shiver of unease, especially if you have livestock. But beyond the folklore and maybe the fear, what do we truly know about this incredibly adaptable creature that shares so much of our landscape? Whether you're a landowner navigating wildlife interactions, perhaps preparing for a critical meeting about land management, or you're simply a learner with a deep curiosity, you've undoubtedly encountered stories, maybe data, about coyotes, particularly their surprising presence and impact in agricultural environments. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an insightful article titled Know Your Foe, Looking at Coyotes' Habits and How You Can Defend Your Livestock. Our mission is to move past common perceptions, unpack their actual habits, understand their sometimes surprising impact, and, crucially, reveal effective strategies for managing coexistence that might challenge traditional thinking. Okay, let's unpack this. What's the real story behind this tenacious animal that thrives across North America? And how can understanding it fundamentally change our approach to living with wildlife?
Well, forget the cartoon villain or the simple pest idea. Our sources reveal coyotes as almost an ecological linchpin. Their surprising behaviors, from solitary hunting to their crucial role in pest control, they fundamentally challenge our traditional ideas of management. We're going beyond just those initial fears or assumptions to explore the science of coyote behavior and the, frankly, fascinating data on their interactions with livestock. Because deeply understanding them, that's really the first step towards truly effective coexistence.
That's a powerful framing. So let's begin with the coyote itself. We know they're part of the dog family, cousins to wolves and foxes, but what truly defines their presence across the continent?
I'd say their incredible adaptability. That's what truly defines them. Originally native to the western plains of the United States, research shows coyotes have staged one of the most remarkable expansions of any North American mammal. It's quite something. Today, they thrive throughout all of North America. They can truly call almost anywhere home, from open grasslands and dense forests to agricultural fields, bustling suburban areas, and even the fringes of cities. They coexist surprisingly well with humans, actually.
And their vocalizations are iconic, aren't they? Beyond the howls we often hear, how else do they communicate?
Yeah, the calls are certainly iconic, but our sources reveal a surprisingly varied vocabulary. It's not just howls and yelps at dusk and dawn. They use growling to signal aggression or warning, barking to alert others, and even high-pitched squealing, especially between pups or during play. It's a complex auditory language, tailored for different social and survival needs.
Huh. Now, many people picture coyotes hunting in large packs, that common image from movies. Is that perception accurate according to our sources?
That's a really common misconception, yeah. But the research actually debunks the idea of large hunting packs. Interestingly, coyotes generally prefer to hunt alone. They might form a temporary pack for specific, maybe larger prey, but more commonly it's a mated pair and their young. These dominant pairs assert authority, often being the only ones to reproduce in a given territory. And they are fiercely territorial. They maintain their boundaries through scent marking, which is crucial for keeping other coyotes and potential predators away from their food sources. This solitary hunting preference, it actually has significant implications for how they interact with livestock, as we'll get into later.
Right. Given that they're often alone, their physical abilities must be pretty extraordinary. What makes them such formidable survivors?
Oh, they are absolutely built for survival. Coyotes are exceptional athletes. They're excellent swimmers, surprisingly good swimmers actually, and can run at incredible speeds up to 40 miles an hour when chasing prey or escaping danger. That's fast. Their senses are also finely tuned for their environment. While often considered nearsighted during the day, they compensate with amazing peripheral vision. But it's after sunset that they truly shine. Their eyesight significantly improves for night vision, aided by those, glowing reflective eyes that act like built-in night vision goggles, helps them spot prey and predators in the dark.
Wow. And their other senses, like smell and hearing, how do those play into their survival strategy?
Oh, their sense of smell is legendary. They rely heavily on it for scavenging and hunting. They're able to sniff out food and even livestock from several miles away. Miles. They can even locate rodents underground with impressive precision. Their hearing is equally acute. It allows them to detect threats and prey, even under thick vegetation or snow, giving them a significant advantage in all sorts of environments.
That combination of speed and sharp senses certainly points to their adaptability. And their diet must reflect that too, right? It can't be too picky.
Exactly. The diverse diet highlighted in our sources is absolutely key to their success. They are truly opportunistic feeders. They consume pretty much everything from birds, rabbits, and yes, young livestock, to vegetation like berries, fruits, vegetables, and surprisingly even insects. This broad palette ensures their survival in a huge range of habitats, from deserts to dense forests and, right up to our farms.
Makes sense. And their reproduction cycle, how does that contribute to their pervasive presence across the continent?
Well, their reproduction strategy is another testament to their adaptability. While not strictly monogamous for life, some pairs do stay together for several years. Breeding typically occurs between January and March, with pups born in April or May, and litter sizes can vary quite widely, from maybe 2 up to 12 pups. It often depends on food availability and how populated an area already is with other coyotes. Pups usually go off on their own by fall or midwinter to establish their own territories, which, ensures their rapid dispersal and expansion across available landscapes.
Okay. So while coyotes are clearly a major player, are there other predator threats that farmers might encounter, especially in different regions? Just for context.
That's an important point for context, absolutely. While coyotes are indeed the most common predator across much of the U.S., other threats to livestock can include wolves, especially in regions where they've been reintroduced. Bears and mountain lions also pose risks in certain areas. And it's crucial to note that some of these larger species are protected, requiring landowners to contact state wildlife agencies or the USDA for specific management assistance. That adds another layer of complexity for farmers trying to deal with these challenges.
Right. So armed with this understanding of their incredible capabilities and resilience, let's pivot to the aspect many of you, our listeners, are likely most concerned about, their actual impact on livestock. This is where the numbers, I think, often challenge our assumptions.
Yes, our sources, pulling from recent USDA data from 2014 and 2017, offer some compelling figures on livestock losses, specifically looking at 2015 data. What's fascinating is how these numbers, when you view them broadly across the national inventory, can surprise us and kind of complicate the narrative around coyote predation.
Okay, let's look at sheep first. What did that data reveal about coyote impact there?
For sheep, yeah, coyotes were indeed responsible for killing over half more than 50% of the sheep lost to all predators in 2014. That's a significant proportion, no doubt. However, what's truly eye-opening is when you look at these losses in the context of the total inventoried U.S. sheep population. Predator-attributed losses accounted for only 1.8% of adult sheep and 3.9% of lambs overall. Specifically, coyotes were directly responsible for removing just 0.9% of all adult sheep and 2.4% of all lambs. So while they dominate the predator losses, the overall percentage of the total herd affected is actually much smaller.
Huh. And for goats, was the situation similar?
Pretty similar, yeah. According to the 2017 USDA report on 2015 data, coyotes and dogs together accounted for the highest predator losses on adult goats and kids. Coyotes alone were responsible for 43.1% of all predator-caused goat and kid deaths. Again, a large share of the predator losses. But when compared to the total U.S. inventory, this means coyotes killed only about 0.5% of all goats and kids in 2015. 0.5%.
Okay, what about cattle? That seems like a much bigger animal for a coyote to take down. So those numbers must be different, right? Lower, maybe?
You'd think so, given the size difference. But this raises an important question. The same 2017 USDA report shows coyotes accounted for the highest percentage of cattle deaths due to predators, 40.5% of adult cattle deaths. And for calves, it was even higher at 53.1%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite shocking considering the coyote's size relative to a cow or even a calf. Yet again, in terms of the total inventoried population, coyotes were responsible for killing about 0.02%, 0.02% of all adult cows, and approximately 0.37% of all calves.
Right. This stark contrast between the national statistics and an individual reality is really compelling. It sounds like the data forces us to confront this fundamental disconnect. What's statistically minor on a national scale can be economically devastating on an individual farm. So how do these numbers then inform the best way forward for farmers, especially when, as we'll get into, traditional solutions often backfire?
Exactly. While the overall percentages across the vast U.S. livestock population might seem, statistically small, our sources strongly acknowledge that for a farmer facing significant coyote problems, it probably doesn't feel reasonable at all. Statistically, adult sheep and lambs do appear to be the most affected of these three species when measured against their total populations. That makes them particularly vulnerable and often the primary focus for protection efforts.
Okay, this brings us to the crucial part. If you are a farmer or landowner dealing with this specific challenge, what are the most effective ways to protect your animals? Our sources offer some really insightful, often counterintuitive options.
Well, many farmers, where it's legal, have traditionally opted for lethal control methods like shooting or trapping, or maybe engaging government programs to remove coyotes.
Mm.
However, our source highlights a really crucial point that a lot of research is now questioning. How truly effective is this method in the long term? It's often not as simple or as permanent a solution as it might seem on the surface.
Right. And this next insight from our sources is truly counterintuitive. It could completely change how you view coyote management. It's what the article calls a devastating cycle. Because coyotes are so territorial, removing individuals can actually create a vacuum, right? Opening up prime new territories for other coyotes to move in. And here's the kicker. With fewer competing coyotes, reproductive rates and pup survival often increase in the local population. So with larger, sometimes inexperienced families, these new coyotes may actually need to kill more or larger livestock to feed their pups, making the problem potentially worse than before.
It's true. And to further complicate things, if you inadvertently remove a dominant established coyote that wasn't actually preying on your livestock,
Oh, no,
yeah,
no.
you might unintentionally open the floodgates to a bunch of younger, less experienced coyotes who previously didn't predate because that dominant animal's presence was sort of keeping them in check. It was, in a way, acting as an unseen guard coyote. This can quickly spiral into a devastating cycle of increased predation. It turns what was supposed to be a solution into a much bigger problem.
Wow. Okay, so removing one can actually make the problem worse.
Yeah.
That's really counterintuitive. So, if lethal control can backfire like that, what are the non-lethal alternatives that successfully avoid this cycle and actually protect livestock effectively?
The research really suggests that one of the most effective defenses against coyotes is often simply being more present on your farm. Active presence. Both humans and dedicated guard or shepherd dogs like Great Pyrenees, are often mentioned, can be highly effective deterrents just through their consistent presence. When you do observe coyotes, it's advised to go out of your way to harass and frighten them, basically reinforcing that your property is not an easy or safe target. Also, a smart move, if it's possible for you, is to consistently switch up the times you visit your herd. That prevents coyotes from patterning your routine and exploiting your predictable absence.
Makes sense. And beyond active presence, what about physical barriers? Are there infrastructure solutions that make a real difference?
Oh, absolutely. Infrastructure solutions are key for protecting animals when you physically can't be present. Installing better quality fencing, improving pens or enclosures. These things can significantly enhance herd safety. Electric fences are noted specifically as excellent repellents. They provide a strong, non-lethal deterrent that conditions coyotes to avoid the area. The goal is just to make access difficult and undesirable.
And there was that truly inventive solution mentioned in the source involving mixing species within herds. This sounds like an amazing example of creative
It
coexistence.
really is. It highlights how deeply understanding animal behavior can lead to effective strategies. So, while sheep and goats are more vulnerable to coyote predation, donkeys and llamas are generally not. In fact, they can be very aggressive towards coyotes and can effectively protect their own herds or mixed herds. Even training your cows and sheep or goats to live together in the same pasture can provide additional protection, sort of leveraging the size and protective instincts of the larger animals.
So this all points towards a really proactive approach, doesn't it? Essentially making your property less attractive as harder for coyotes to exploit in the first place.
Precisely. Coyotes are opportunistic. They're always seeking easy meals or shelter. So our sources advise simple things like locking up barns, removing or burning old wood piles, and fencing off any other potential den sites. Coyotes also use tall grass and shrubs to conceal themselves while stalking prey, so keeping vegetation trimmed eliminates those crucial hiding places, making your animals less vulnerable.
Right, and preventing them from finding any easy food sources must be critical too, beyond the livestock themselves.
It is absolutely crucial. Things like compost bins and garbage cans are magnets for coyotes. The advice is pretty straightforward. Keep your bins inside if possible, or in secure enclosures, locked up, or at least weigh the lids down heavily. You should also rigorously keep the area free of other food scraps, like deer carcasses or open pet food and water sources. That's a big one. And critically, ensure small animal enclosures for rabbits, chickens, other small livestock are fully enclosed and fortified, top and bottom. And just for the safety of your loved ones, it's strongly recommended to keep pets and small children inside during dawn and dusk, which are the peak activity times for coyotes.
Okay. We've explored their habits, their surprising impact data, and how to effectively protect against them. But this brings us to a bigger, maybe more philosophical question that the article implicitly raises. Are coyotes inherently bad? Should the goal be to entirely eradicate them from an area?
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, our sources actually categorize coyotes as a keystone species. Think of a keystone in an arch, you remove it, and the whole structure can crumble. Similarly, these are species that have a disproportionately large impact on their ecosystem relative to their abundance. Coyotes play a really vital role in keeping down populations of rodents, like rabbits, squirrels, and gophers. And these rodents can otherwise cause extensive damage to crops, property, and even carry diseases.
Ah, so it's not just a simple nuisance predator. There's a complex ecological trade-off happening, isn't there?
Exactly. The ecosystem is a truly delicate balancing act. If the coyote population is down, for example, due to widespread lethal control, rodents and other small animals that can cause property damage or spread disease will likely increase, sometimes significantly. Conversely, if the coyote population is up, yes, they are more likely to prey on livestock, but the rodent population will also decrease. It's this constant dynamic interplay that we often simplify at our own peril.
Ultimately, then, the core message emerging from our sources isn't merely about understanding the animal, but about maybe a paradigm shift, moving from a reactive, eradication focused mindset to a proactive, ecologically informed strategy of coexistence.
The research absolutely reinforces this. Coyotes are remarkably adaptable, intelligent animals, and frankly, it's hard not to admire their sheer survival instincts. As more and more research concludes, actively removing coyotes can often just lead to more coyote predation issues down the line, creating that devastating cycle we discussed earlier. So if you're going to raise livestock, the insights strongly suggest it's really up to you, the landowner, to find a good balance between coexisting with and effectively managing coyote populations on your property using these smarter, non-lethal methods where possible.
What an illuminating deep dive. We've journeyed from understanding the incredible biology and adaptations of the coyote to grasping their surprising real world impact on livestock. Those stats were eye opening. And perhaps most importantly, exploring clever and effective protection strategies that emphasize coexistence over simple eradication. It really does shift the perspective from an assumed battle to more of a nuanced negotiation, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So what stands out to you listening? Consider how this adaptable creature, often seen as just a simple foe, actually plays this complex and vital role in the ecosystem. And maybe, just maybe, the most effective management isn't about complete elimination, but about clever and informed coexistence, leveraging their own instincts against them sometimes, and working with the natural system rather than constantly fighting against it.
That leads to a final thought. What if truly acknowledging the coyote's profound ecological importance, its keystone role, and its innate survival instincts is the first, most crucial step? Not just to effectively managing them on our land, but maybe towards a more sustainable and harmonious form of agriculture and living altogether. What does that mean for how we view our entire relationship with the natural world around us and maybe the wisdom that's embedded in its delicate balance? It's something to think about.